Welcome back to the Gen X Remix, Midlife, Laughs, and Next Acts. I'm your host, Tabatha Jones. I'm also known as the Corporate Escape Sherpa. Do you ever feel like you're stuck in a loop of indecision or inaction as an entrepreneur? Just spinning your wheels, trying everything, but nothing seems to click? If so, you're not alone, and today's episode is going to help you break free. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Dominiece Clifton, a clarity coach and business strategist on a mission to empower 1,000 women entrepreneurs and nonprofit founders. Through her Transformation YOUniversity coaching program, she helps women gain the clarity and confidence they need to build thriving businesses. She's also the founder of Move and Still, where she supports organizations with stress reduction and mindfulness services. Oh, and did I mention she's an author, podcast host, and proud mom? This woman does it all. We're diving into a conversation today about breaking free from the confusion loop, that frustrating cycle that keeps entrepreneurs stuck, second guessing, and spinning their wheels. If you've ever found yourself overthinking, procrastinating, or investing in programs that just didn't move the needle, this program's for you. Let's jump in. Welcome to the Gen X Remix, Dominiece. How are you doing today?
Hey, Tabatha. I'm doing really good today. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're here. Excited to hear your story, learn a bit more about you, and share some really great value with our listeners. So, you may know I like to start every show by asking our guests to tell us about your greatest remix.
My greatest remix. Wow. There's been so many. I'm like, how do I pick out one that's really good? What's coming up for me right now isn't what we talked about before we hit record and what I put on the form. What is coming up for me right now was that my greatest remix was it's been about 8 years ago in maybe 2017. And I went from just kind of moving through the world on my autopilot to feeling like starting to have the question of, is this it? Like, is this it? Is there more to life than this? Right? It was like, I've done all the things that everyone has told me that I need to do, and I'm still not feeling how I thought I would feel. And so I started meditating. I started focusing on personal development. That was the start. Now, it's been about 8 years of that now. That practice got deeper in 2020. And that's when I really saw like a lot of growth and transformation. But if I really go back to the beginning of where the remix started, that was in 2017.
Okay. And it brought you to where you are today. So I would love to understand a bit more just about what you do and kind of how you support people now that you're in this new space.
Mm-hmm. So yes, getting to this space has been about 5 years in the making. And I believe that we're always growing, we're always evolving. And so it's like, I am this version of myself now, but years from now, I might be a different version of myself. But this version of myself, right in 2020, right around the time that COVID started, I got a download that said every day for the next 90 days, focus on your mind, your body, and your spirit. And so I did that for 90 days straight. I would spend time with myself. I would spend time, meditating. I would spend time moving my body every single day, like pouring positive messages into my body with inspirational content, instructional content. And I did that for 90 days. And when I came out of that 90-day transformation, I felt so good. I felt so alive. It was like I had just woken up from a fog, and I wanted everyone to feel that way. And that was actually my step into entrepreneurship, because I became a coach to be like, I want to offer, I want to help other women. I want to support other people in feeling this way. So fast forward 5 years later, there's been lots of twists and turns. Entrepreneurship has not been like a straight path at all. So I've done a lot of things in these last 5 years, and I've had to just, sometimes make big remix decisions and, alter my life in a lot of big ways. I've had to do that. But where I am now is that 5 years later, that 90-day practice continues to enhance and transform my life. I still focus on that mind, body, spirit practice daily, and it's helped to bring so much more clarity about my purpose and who I am. And so I get to now work as a clarity coach and a business strategist but then also offering the tools that were so life-changing for me to my clients. And so I help them with first finding clarity, like connecting with themselves and understanding what is it that I want to do? Like, what is it that I'm intended to do and what brings me joy? And then once they get clarity there, we take that and really focus on putting the business strategy together to help them bring that vision to life. And so everything, right, started with just the decision to be obedient to that voice that whispered for me to prioritize myself for 90 days.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing how impactful that practice could be. And I love that you continue the practice. I know I always tell people you should be journaling every day and working on your gratitudes and kind of clearing out that fear. And I tend to fall off the wagon myself, even though I know how powerful it is. Something that was important when we first met a couple months back, you picked up right away that I was in a little bit of a wonky space. So hopefully you don't mind me sharing, but I'm going to share this little personal situation because your coaching, even though we were on the phone for maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour, it was so powerful in helping me kind of see where I was misaligned. So tell me a little bit about how you recognize when somebody is talking to you, how you recognize that they need some coaching and maybe some of that realignment.
That was such an interesting session. For me, it was a reminder to trust myself, right? Like sometimes we don't think that we're prepared to do the thing that we're feeling called to do. And as we were talking, like I could just feel like there's something missing here, right? Like there's something missing here that I could just like feel it in your energy. And I remember asking you a question. I don't remember the exact question, but it was like, if you could be doing anything, what would you be doing? And that kind of led to me talking about the zone of bliss. But what I'm learning is that like coaching is very intuitive, right? You have to really be able to like trust your own voice first, but then you also have to be willing to see people, like be very intentional about seeing people fully. And I think for me, at least, a lot of my past coaching experiences were not like that, right? Like people were not truly invested in seeing me and understanding what I needed and understanding the way that I, best thrive. And I struggled for a long time because of that. I fumbled around in the dark for many years trying to figure things out. And so I'm really passionate about like helping people to see themselves fully, right? Because we all have gifts, skills, talents, like amazing things that we're able to do. And some of those things we know, but sometimes we have our own blind spots. And it's helpful for someone else to hold up a mirror and to illuminate us and, radiate the best parts of ourselves. And so as you were talking, it was just, I could feel from your expression and your experience and your energy, like this isn't the thing that is lighting her up, right? Like this is the thing that her brain is telling her makes sense, right? And so that's what we do oftentimes. It's like, well, I had a career in this thing, and so I'm going to come, start my own business in the same place. But sometimes like that's not the thing that is the thing that sets your soul on fire, is what I like to say. And so I love that in just that conversation, I was able to trust myself, open up and share the information with you. But then you were able to take that and trust yourself in the process of figuring it out also.
Absolutely. And I think what you asked me is, are you doing what feels comfortable or are you doing what truly lights you up? And I thought, wow, that is such a powerful question. I think I actually got quiet for a second, which doesn't happen too often. And I was like, man, how is she picking up on this? And it's true. I mean, coming out of corporate for more than 30 years, it's still deeply ingrained in a lot of the things I do and the ways that I make decisions and that type of thing. And what I realized is I stayed in that kind of comfort zone. I love coaching women in the career advancement space, but I really love helping women plan that corporate escape and start a business before they leave. And it brought all that clarity to me by having time to reflect just based on our conversation. So my point in sharing that is it was very powerful. And I would say probably one of my favorite hours or so of 2024 because it just made such a difference.
Thank you so much for that. Can I add one little thing there before we move on?
Absolutely.
I think that what you shared is so important because if I could sense that energy and we were just having a conversation, right, that also shows up in the way that you run your business and the energy that you put into what you're creating and how you share your message. And it's like our clients also feel that. And so that's why making sure that you're doing something that is fulfilling, that is in alignment with who you truly are, that like excites you is so important, because when we're not excited about the thing or fulfilled by the thing, we still do, right? We still create and put things out, but they don't resonate with people in the way that we desire. And I remember like you sent me an email talking about all that had transpired after that session, and things started happening so fast once you made a shift and really got into alignment. And I'm sure a part of that was just a difference in the energy, right? Like you felt different. You had a different energy about your business. And so you were able to put that into your outreach and your messaging and all of those things and attract the type of clients that you truly desire. So I just wanted to highlight like why that's important.
I absolutely love that. And I'm glad that you added it. Something else that you said was, really just trusting yourself to go forward and say what needs to be said. It probably wasn't comfortable, right? But you just were able to come in and say, can I have permission to coach you? And I love that. It's so important. So let's talk a little bit about your confusion loop. I know you brought that up. Can you tell me a little bit about the confusion loop and how you discovered that?
Yeah. So this is, it's a fairly new concept for me in my business. And it started, like I go through periods where I'm just in a very creative space and I'm getting all these downloads and I'm putting things together. And this was one of those moments of this came to me over a series of days or weeks. And I was kind of just taking all the pieces and making sense of it. And then I finished and had like this whole new thing that I, am now talking about. But the confusion loop was really like how the first 4 years of my entrepreneurial journey looked. It was like, no matter what I tried, nothing worked the way that I wanted it to. Nothing really felt good. I felt like I was always just exhausted trying to make the business happen. And I was just on a hamster wheel. And when things didn't work out the way that I wanted them to, I would invest in another coaching program or another online course. And so I was just consuming all of this information, searching for answers and not really struggling to figure it out. And so I'll talk a bit in a second about these archetypes, but what really cemented this concept for me is I started having conversations with other women entrepreneurs, and I started noticing patterns in how they were, moving about as they were trying to build their businesses and the behaviors that they were engaging in. And I was seeing myself in a lot of those women, like I was seeing my past experiences in a lot of those women. And so the archetypes, which I'll talk about in a second, all of that kind of came together to create this concept, but it was recognizing, oh, this isn't just a me thing. Like we are all, struggling in very similar ways. The root cause is the same, but we're all struggling in similar ways. So anyway, I said all that just to give some context about this. So the entrepreneurial confusion loop is a cycle that entrepreneurs find themselves in when we don't have a clear understanding of who we are, who we serve, and what our clients need deeply. When we don't have that like foundational knowledge, it essentially puts us in a space again where we're on a hamster wheel. We're creating and sharing things out, but it's not resonating with people in the way that we desire. We're putting all this time, effort, and energy into our business, and it's just not, it's just not taking off the way that we desire. And the reason for that is like there's some gaps. There's some gaps in the process. There's some things that you need clarity on. And when we continue to like not have this clarity, but we're putting things together and creating, it becomes frustrating after a while. Like you start to question yourself. You start to question am I even good enough to be doing this? And the reality is that like, it's not you, right? You are good enough. You just need clarity for your business to really thrive in the way that you desire. And so again, having conversations with women, seeing similar patterns, I realized that business is 90% mindset and 10% strategy, right? Like we focus so much on the strategy. We focus so much on the tactics and what we need to do and the marketing and all of these things. And it's like, that stuff is great, but like, we really have to focus on who we are as business owners and what things are holding us back, what beliefs, what patterns, what behaviors we have that are getting in our way. And so I'm going to read through these 13 archetypes. I'm not going to expand on them, but just as you all are hearing them, just think about where you've seen yourself in your business, right? Either now or some point in the past. So the first one is the overconsumer. The second one is the pollinator. You have the overthinker, the copycat creator, the solo warrior, the procrastinating perfectionist, the visionary dreamer, the discount diva, or if it's a guy, it can be the discount dude. You have the fearful avoider, the masker, the giver, the serial entrepreneur, and the reluctant dreamer. Now, all of these archetypes highlight different ways that confusion manifests and keeps us in this loop. But the root cause is the same. We can show up as any of these 13 archetypes when we don't have clarity, right? When we are not sure about ourselves and we're not sure about our ideal clients and what they deeply desire and need and what they're struggling with, then it's really hard for us to create messaging that feels aligned to them. And so again, we end up having these behaviors. So I was an overconsumer. Again, I would just invest in courses and, pay for things and try to soak in as much information as I could to figure things out. Sometimes we start new businesses, right? We think, oh, I'm not doing the right business. It's not taking off. And then we'll jump into something else. That's the serial entrepreneur. But it's not that the business idea isn't good. It's just that you haven't done your due diligence to gather the information that you need to really serve at a high level. So I'll pause there. I know that was a lot.
No, it's great. I think that I can recognize myself in several of those archetypes, right? And one of the things that's so interesting, and I've been seeing this a lot as I've made my shift, is women that come from corporate backgrounds. We are toxic productivity people. Like, we are always busy, on the move, doing the thing, figuring it out. And sometimes, and I learned this on my own journey, it's just about figuring out the who, what, why. Maybe not in that order, right? The why, what, who, or the why, who, what. But then taking it and getting out in front of people. Because what will happen is we'll sit behind the scenes. Oh, let's go create this new Canva. Oh, that thing's not working. Let me go create something else new on Canva. Well, that's not working. Let me go do this new thing on my website. Well, that's not working. And we spend hours just in that confusion loop. I'm happy it has a name. Just trying to figure it out. And I don't know, if a lot of your clients happen to come from a corporate background, but a lot of what happens that I see is, they'll leave with a package or, some type of a little parachute to kind of get them through, a severance of some sort. And that money will go so much faster than they ever expect, because that's how we have fixed things our whole career, right? Oh, my house isn't cleaning itself. Let me go hire someone to do that. Oh, this isn't happening. Let me just go pay for this thing. And it makes it really easy for us to fall into the hands of people who are really good at selling things to us that we don't really need. So this is really helpful. That's a lot of archetypes. So I'm going to do a little diving. Do you find that people shift and they can be multiple archetypes on different days or different hours?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So yes, you can typically we have a dominant archetype, and then we have some kind of, a few like other archetypes that can also show up. Like for me, I am definitely an overconsumer. Like that, I love learning and soaking up information naturally. That's just a part of like my makeup. But then when it came to like figuring out the business thing, it became a little bit like obsessive almost, like I never felt ready. I was always soaking up information. But then there were also like the copycat creator, right? Like I was an overconsumer, but I was always comparing myself to other people. And so you can definitely be operating in more than one archetype at a time. The most important thing is like, again, sometimes I did this for 4 years and I had no idea that I was like doing these things, right? But then other people are able to see us, to see where we're struggling, right? To help us to figure things out. And so that's why I'm such a big advocate of people getting support along the journey, because sometimes when we're doing this thing by ourselves, we can be so caught up in our story and what we think is a good idea. And, just losing a lot of time, as opposed to having someone that you trust, like, help you illuminate where the habits, the behaviors that you're repeating, and help you to figure out how to get out of those things. And so yes, you can have many, but yes, you can also be struggling with many of these and be in your own way because you're trying to figure things out on your own.
That's great. It's a really great point, having someone there to help you and kind of partner with you through this journey, and being really selective. There are, I don't even know how many, it feels like hundreds of thousands of people in our DMs every day trying to get us into a program. And the ones that seem obvious are usually not the right ones. They're usually the shiny things we think we need, but they're not really the purposeful, productive ones we do need to get us kind of out of that loop. So I love it. Why lose time, right? It's just not worth losing years of time when you could kind of get that direct route.
Yeah. And I love what you shared, because that was, like I said, I have at this point thrown so much money at different coaching programs at the time, like searching for answers. But all of them, I noticed like certain things, like they were really large groups, so you kind of got lost in the number, or sometimes you would jump in and they just assume that you have this foundational knowledge, right? But we really don't. We're not clear on these like basic things about our client and, who we are. And so they start giving you these strategies, these tactics, and you spend, weeks, months building things out, but things are not taking off in the way that you desire, again, because you don't have that clarity. And so there are a ton of programs. I think it's important to do your due diligence and do your research to make sure that what you are investing in is truly like aligned with who you are and what you need. But most programs, they kind of skip past those foundational things, and you build this house and it's on, not stable foundation. So I agree with you that it is important, but you do have to definitely do your due diligence with what you're investing your time and effort into.
Yeah. It sounds like our programs are very similar in that aspect. It's more about guiding and making sure people are getting into the right spaces and doing those right things that will help them grow quickly, rather than throwing money to the wind like some of us may have done.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
I love that. It's so important. And I always joke about this, but it's true. I ended up very early on in a sales program. For me, I've always told myself, you're terrible at sales. I led technical teams. I never had to sell anything. And I was like, well, I guess I better get in a sales program. And the next thing I know, I was in one. To your point, huge kind of lust in the crowd kind of thing. But it was very millennial bro style sales. It's like, we're going to take you to the deepest, darkest point in your being and suck you out of it and make you buy from us because we're the only ones that can put you out of your pain. And they were great salespeople, obviously. But, I joke because I just was like so out of alignment, but thought that was the thing I needed. Had I had someone like you or someone like me or someone who really has done the walk and lived through this, they probably would have saved me from spending the money on that I'm too embarrassed to say the dollar amount. But yeah.
I agree. I've had similar experiences myself where I've forced myself to engage in strategies that didn't feel aligned to me. And the entire time my body and mind were like expressing that it didn't. But I was like, well, if they're telling me to do this, like, and that was very early on in my career, it's like, I'm going to do the thing. But it was, again, the energy behind what I'm putting out, right? It didn't feel good. Like it wasn't good energy. And so I didn't get the desired response that I want. And so I love that you shared that, because whatever we're doing, it has to be authentic to who we are, right? Like if we're a round peg and we're trying to make ourselves fit into the square hole, like it's just not going to work. It's not going to feel good. And so I love that you stress that. I think that that's so true. Your selling style, the way that you're generating leads and bringing visibility to your organization, your business, it has to be authentic and feel good to you.
Oh my gosh, so much. I love this. So if somebody wants to kind of go back, hopefully they're pausing and listening and writing down these archetypes. But if some of our listeners are entrepreneurs and they want to learn how to identify their unique archetype and start breaking free from those self-sabotaging habits, how can they learn? How can they learn to identify those traits, and how can they learn to break free from those bad habits?
Yeah, thank you for this question. So as I mentioned, we typically have a dominant archetype and then some kind of lingering sub-archetypes, I would say. I created a quiz. It's called the Entrepreneurial Clarity Assessment, and it's a quiz that takes maybe 3 to 4 minutes to complete. You answer a few yes or no questions, so it's really easy, and it will give you your dominant archetype. It will give you an overview of, how that shows up for you, kind of like the symptoms of that particular archetype, but it will also give you recommendations, steps that you can begin to take today to begin to shift your habits, your patterns, your behaviors that have been keeping you stuck in this archetype or this confusion loop. And so if you head over to confusionloop.com, you'll be able to take that quiz. And then again, it'll just give you an overview. And so I think that that's a great place to start if in listening to those 13 archetypes, you were like, oh, I could kind of see myself, being that one or being those. Take the quiz and see what comes back for you. The greatest, most important step in change is awareness, right? We have to be aware of the thing to change the thing. And so this is a great start.
Excellent. Now, if someone's listening today and they're like, oh my gosh, Dominiece, you're hitting my heart, kind of like I did when we first met, what is the best way for them to connect with you to learn more about your services?
Yeah, so my website is domrclifton.com, and that is probably the best place to start. The quiz, you can access the quiz from my homepage. You can learn more about me and, the programs that I offer and how I support women, women who are either aspiring to launch businesses or maybe they've already launched, but it's, something where it doesn't feel in alignment. So they're feeling like they want to pivot. But then I also support women nonprofit founders also. So if you fall into any of those categories, you can learn more about what I offer on my website.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, I appreciate you for being here. I truly appreciate and I'm grateful for our connection because, like I said, you kind of dug me out of a little hole I didn't even realize I was in. So if anyone listening today is thinking, wow, I want to learn more, be sure to connect with Dominiece, grab her resource and start working on the archetype clarity, get some clarity there and get yourself out of that confusion loop. And then, of course, all of the links will be in the show notes. So, Dominiece, before we go, I'd love to ask you if you have any parting words or advice that you'd like to share with our listeners.
What's bubbling up at the surface for me is just reminding everyone that there's nothing wrong with you if you feel like you're having a hard time and not being able to figure out this whole entrepreneurial thing or just, what it looks like to build this dream that you have. There's nothing wrong with you. You're absolutely capable. If you're finding yourself feeling stuck, it means that you just need clarity, right? And when you find that clarity, when you really get an understanding of who you are and what you are, how you are intended to serve and support, things will start to grow and evolve in the way that you desire, and there'll be just a different energy behind it. So I know we can get lost in self-doubt and start to question ourselves when what we're doing isn't performing in the way that we want it to be. And so I just want to leave everyone with that today. Like, you are totally amazing. There's nothing wrong with you. You just need to figure things out and get that clarity.
I love it. And I'd say the sooner the better. There's times going by quickly. It's not worth just sitting in the suck alone when somebody is sitting here waiting to help you. So definitely reach out. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Dominiece. We really appreciate your insights. I love learning more about the confusion loop, and I look forward to connecting again soon.
Thank you.
Wow. What an incredible conversation with Dominiece Clifton. I love how she broke down the confusion loop and shared those entrepreneur archetypes. Seriously, I see myself in more than one of those, especially early on in my career journey into entrepreneurship. If today's episode hit home for you, be sure to connect with Dominiece. Take her entrepreneurial clarity assessment at confusionloop.com to uncover your dominant archetype and start breaking free from those self-sabotaging habits. And before you go, if you're ready to start planning your corporate escape, I've got something new just for you. Pop over to escapesherpa.com and grab your free flipbook to start mapping your own exit strategy. No more waiting, no more second guessing. It's time to make your move. As I always say, don't quit your day job yet. Let's start building and getting your plan together first. Need personalized support? Send me an email and let's chat about your goals. Until next time, keep taking bold steps toward the career and life you truly want. We'll see you next time.